So my name is Sean. I am the local leader of the Oklahoma City and the Tulsa Tableau user groups. And this month we're talking about the data challenge. So let's dive right in. I am sharing my screen. So if you can't see what I'm sharing, it is a Tableau workbook titled June Tableau User Group. I do have a handful of things to walk through as far as announcements before we get started on reviewing the awesome work that some of our users have put together. But like I said, I'm Sean, so there's my picture. You can see me eating some delicious food. And today watching the Q&A section is Matt Hughes. We work together at Interworks and he knows a whole lot more than I do. So that's why he's responsible for Q&A. So today's plan, we're going to talk about the New York City Open Data system, which is super cool. We're going to give a quick summary of the data that was sent out for this month's challenge. And then I'm going to allow the users who do now have the privilege to speak, so should they choose, Jeremy already taking full advantage, to walk through the dashboards that they made and talk about what they liked, what they disliked, and what they found challenging or interesting. And then we'll open it up for Q&A to the users who participated, and also any general questions that you guys might have about Tableau or otherwise. So things to think about. August will be the next time that we meet, and we're looking for local presenters, and I probably spelt that wrong, so I'm sure I'll get a message about that later. If you have an interesting project or something that you're quite proud of, we'd love to hear about it, and we'd love for you to be able to share that with the community in the group. It's always fun to give kudos to those who work really hard. There's another thing through the Tableau communities that's really fun. I did not put the link here, but the link is in this last tab, and we'll look at that shortly. Is the virtual event calendar. So any of these virtual events, you guys are more than welcome to sign up for. There are now not just localized Tableau user groups. There are specific interest center user groups now. So I think today there was just a centralized focused user group for sport organizations, which was super cool. And I think they're spinning up more and more all the time. I haven't dug into all that exists, but I did see that like other cities that are running user groups, you can sign up for and attend those virtually as well. The third thing that I wanted to talk about is in the last couple of emails that I've sent out, I have been pushing open office hours and a form for you guys to fill out. If any of you guys have any questions about Tableau or your data flows or a project that you're working on, I've made some time slots available on my calendar. You can reach out to me and we can talk through some of those. I've worked with a couple people already who've taken advantage of the form and we spent some time together. I think they found it useful. I haven't set up a review intake form yet, but that's just a service that I'm providing to the community to try to help you guys, build out these projects and, do more with the tool. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is for our October meeting, we want to bring in a speaker from the outside. So in the past, last year, we had David Duncan from Interworks give a presentation about designing for data and some of the best UX and visual practices for building and displaying information. That presentation was really good, and I think it's worth hearing again. But if there's other topics that you guys would be more interested in, or maybe not even more interested in, just interested in general, we are going to send out a survey probably next week to try to gauge interest in different areas and different topics. Dates to look forward to. So our next meeting will be in August and our last one for the year will be in October. And I talked through all of that pretty fast. So let's move on to talking about what's in our plan. So the New York data system. This is super cool. So the city of New York City has a website, New York City Open Data, where they host so much interesting information. So this is where I went to find this month's data set for the challenge. So I went to view some of the most popular data sets, and we'll see how quickly this loads. It worked just fine earlier. Okay, there it goes. And you can filter these by all kinds of, they have so much information in here, split by so many different sections and sectors. I think I filtered it by category and environment. And there's that street census data. So this one is super cool. You can also search for many different things. One of the things that's cooler on here is the Central Park squirrel census data. So they send about 100 volunteers out to Central Park, and they count squirrels for a day. And they publish that out to the New York City website, which is absolutely wild. So just some of the various random things that can be found out there on the New York City Open Data. I think it's a great model that I hope more places start to follow. Oklahoma City has one, but most of the data that's in there isn't in a very strong tabular format to be used to build out a lot of really interesting views. So we're going to talk, let's talk a little bit more about the data that was sent out for the June challenge. So it was street tree census data. We had multiple years in there. So from the observations from 95, 2005, and 2015, each tree has its own unique ID. This would allow for tracking over time. And the health of the tree was recorded in later years, but not in prior years. So that one was kind of lost to the overtime, which would have been really cool to measure like the lifespan of trees. I chose this data set because it's one of the most popular ones on the New York City hosted site. It also has several great qualities. It's got a pretty dynamic set of attributes that allow you to do a lot of different stuff with it. So this is just a screenshot of some of those fields that I thought were like most useful. It was a bit of a mess, and it did have a data dictionary that you kind of had to dig through to find out the meaning of some of the fields are not shown here. And with that setup, I think we can dive right into the to showing off the work that some of our colleagues have made. So you can go to tablowpublic.com, and you can go to the top right and search for OKC TUG 2020, and all of our submissions will show up. So I'm going to switch screens real quick. And so now you guys should be seeing the Tableau public page with the search results. And since Kristin is at the top, she can go first. Kristin, can you turn your mic on?
I can, thank you. Hello.
All right. So Kristin, if you could just tell us a little bit about maybe your creative process, what you found interesting, and why you chose to build this view.
Okay, my thought was, who cares about tree data? Parks and Rec probably cares about tree data, right? And so I thought, if I work in Parks and Recreation, why do I want to look at the tree data? Well, probably for maintenance for the city. So I wanted to make a tool, it's a prototype, for a city where you can kind of see overall how many trees we have in each borough, what their status is, kind of like a servicing tracker. And then you can go to the map, and the idea is maybe you can see where there is a bigger location of certain trees, and then hand off a spreadsheet to whoever needs to go take care of them.
So walk me through a series of clicks real quick. What would I click on to narrow down your search?
Okay, I've got one of my participants windows in the way. Over on the side, I put narrow map selection below. So let's say that I want to look at, I already put it on Queens here, and I want to see all the trees that are dead in Queens. But you could go through and look at, maybe say one day, you want to send someone out to Manhattan to look at all of the low soil level trees and refill their soil level, I suppose. So if I was the director, I could come over here, click through that, and then the spreadsheet at the bottom automatically updates with the addresses and the zip code, and then what kind of tree they are and the soil level. And then my idea is that you could then hand that off to someone, and it's easy for them to go and have all the details they need right there.
Yeah, we should probably let the Parks and Rec department know that you built this for them.
And my other idea off of the side where it says total of all trees by borough, that one doesn't change. I know that a lot of execs or people that are high up, they just want to see those numbers right off the bat, really quick and easy ratio of the status of the trees and how many are where, and then you can click and see the number of each one. And my thought again was, if I work in Parks and Rec and I'm a director, do I have to present? Do I have to talk to an exec? I can screenshot or hand off these top parts to someone above me, and I can screenshot or export and hand off the other parts to people that I'm delegating to. So it's like a one-stop mini shop for trees.
No, this is great. Thank you for taking the time to contribute.
You're welcome.
This is awesome. Thanks, Kristin. Oh, I wanted to go back to my search. There we go. It's reordered itself and put Jen at the top.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How's it going, Jen?
All right. Okay,
All right. So yeah, go ahead, take it away.
well, I think I used a different data set than everyone else because when I first started doing this, because of our blocks at work, I couldn't get to the link you guys sent out. So I went looking for it myself and I found the 2005. So I just stuck with that one. But so I have it where it is broken down by the tree status, the borough, and the species type. And on the map, each dot shows one tree. And if you click on the tree status or the borough or the species, it will filter everything to show that specific information. And then the top right, the little bubble chart, I know they're not typically used, but I thought it looked like a cool little visualization for this project at least. So I added it.
I think that the tree that you added is the best thing I've seen. It's so cool. Getting creative and adding artwork into your views is so much fun. Is there something that stuck out to you as something that you didn't get to normally do or practice when you did this exercise, Jen?
Well, a lot of our data is healthcare information, so pretty cut and dried stuff. So I like the artistic aspect of this one.
Yeah, a good change of pace.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, again, Jen, also thank you for participating and putting together this super fun and kind of honestly inspiring viz. All right, and we will look at Jeremy next. Or maybe it's Jeremy's 2-year-old who will tell us about it. Who knows?
He might be able to do a better job than me.
Really putting Tableau Public through its paces here.
Yeah, Jen, that was great. I love how creative you got with that. I'm curious if you can tell me how you got the little leaf icons on your bar charts. But for me, I really didn't know where I was going to go with this analysis. So I just started looking at the data, and honestly, I don't think that there's really any substitute for that. Like at some point, you got to dig in and look at all of the columns that you got in your data set. And doing that, I saw that there was health data or status. It's named differently in a couple of the different data sets. So that's the approach that I took. And not really being very familiar with the New York City area, I decided to put the map over there that show the boundaries of each borough. So that's using a zip code. And then, the rest of this was really just strictly intended to help whoever is looking at this do some exploratory analysis on the health of the trees. So, you know, if you, I made that legend there kind of a clickable filter, so we could filter down to a burrow. If you wanted to look at the health of, you know, just a specific discrete health status, I guess. So, you know, we're looking at Staten Island now. And so similar to what Kristin did, you know, if you wanted to see which trees are in poor health, I believe that you can just click on the poor bar there in the chart. You don't even have to, it may be control click.
It worked.
Oh yeah, so there you go. So now we're just looking at, you know, here's those that are in poor health. One thing that I had trouble doing, so what I used in my bar chart over there, if you curse over one of those bars in the, that's showing the count of by tree name, I used the count records from the, and so whenever you kind of pan over that, it looks like it's looking at each individual record. So probably because I used that is the reason that we're seeing that, and I ended up having to create an LOD calculation to have the tooltip show the actual count in each category there. But anyway, yeah, that was the approach that I took. I just said, you know, what does the health of the trees look like in each of these areas?
Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy, for, did
yeah.
you have something else to add?
Just really quickly, you know, I tried to use a specific color palette to show, you know, here's excellent health is that kind of deep green, and then you go down to the kind of brown color for something that's dead, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. We have 2 more submissions to look at, but the speakers are not present. Our very own Kent Sloan, typically a co-host with me for the Oklahoma City Tableau user group. He put this together, but unfortunately was pulled away on client work. So he put together this really cool slide describing the data in a few paragraph forms, which I thought was a great way to intro people. And then put together the very Kent style, statistically driven mapped data. And one of the more interesting things that Kent had done with his data set was he looked up which trees are actually native to New York, and found that only 2.7% of the trees in the census data are from there. Everything else is a transplant, which is kind of cool. And so he's colored, he's color coordinated his views to match. And if you click on this sweet gum bar, it will display a map of all of those sweet gum trees and where they live in New York, which is kind of cool. That one's a little flooded. When we go down and look at something like the Virginia pines, there's far less of them, and they're a little bit easier to pick out. There's only 10 of those. And I thought that was really interesting. You know, he pulled in outside data, I think. I don't know that the nativity of the trees was in the data set. And then we had one more presenter, PACU, put together this view, which is pretty cool. So one of the interesting things that PACU did was she actually went and sourced images of all of the different types of trees so that you can get a fun visual with your selection. And then she has the counts broken out by zip city. And then I think if you click on one of these trees, yeah, it'll highlight the rows for you. I have to click somewhere else. So that was kind of cool. She downloaded a lot of images of trees for this. Like, I think she did all of them, which is an impressive feat, because there's a lot of different kinds of trees. So great work, PACU. This was really good. I love the quick stats and I love the image reference. I think that's super helpful when you're thinking about building a view that's going to, give information to people and then make the selection on something like, all of these trees have names that are so similar and how are they different? I think the images really help. And that's it for the showcase of the community. You guys did an awesome job. We got a great answer, a great response. Again, if you guys want to go review some of these, just go to Tableau Public, type in OKC TUG 2020, and they'll all show up. For those who do participate, they are getting some swag shipped to their house. So that's a ton of fun. We've got cups, mugs, and t-shirts currently. So next time there's participation, just know that's part of the reward for hanging out and playing the game. This last tab that I have is a handful of links that I'll be emailing out to you guys. Oh, and I did want to revisit this, which was the virtual community events that I was talking about. So virtual Tableau community events.splash. You can come in here and you can see like anyone from across the world could have signed up for our events today. Coming up later tomorrow is Southern Arizona. If you guys want to see what they're up to in Phoenix, get out there and dive in. It sounds they're probably doing some interesting stuff. And with that, we'll move on to the Q&A section. If anyone has any questions for our participants this month on their views or how they did it, feel free to fire away in the chats. Or if you have any questions about Tableau or a different thing that you are working on or struggling with, if you want to present at the next meeting, you can raise your hand now and I will hold you to it. All right. Oh, we got a question. Kristin, this one's for you. What map background did you use for your viz?
I started to type and then realized my microphone works.
There you go.
I believe I think I used the Street View one, but then I just turned down the opacity on it so that my colors would pop for my tree points. It's one of the ones that's built into the Tableau map layers options.
I do like the lighter colored. It's really similar to like the Google Maps.
Yeah, it makes a nice background. They have some really good options on there. I wanted to make it dark. You know how much I love a dark dashboard, but
Oh yeah.
I controlled myself.
You know how well, fully dark themed dashboards print. Very expensively.
Terribly, yeah. But they're easy on the eyes when you're on the computer all day.
That's true. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, feel free to follow up with the form that I've sent out in the emails, and I will continue to send out. So again, if you need help, just fill out the office hours form and we can book a time. thank you everyone for showing up and attending. It was a good time.